When you've lived long enough, routines become a kind of shelter. Mine was a small cafe on the corner of Maple and 3rd, the kind of place where the baristas knew your name but didn't pry into your life. I sat at the same table every morning, a quiet seat by the window where the sunlight hit just right. It was my ritual. It kept me steady. So when a soft voice said, "Is this seat taken?" I almost didn't look up. People knew this table was mine, not officially, just by habit. But I looked up anyway, and everything changed. She stood there with a sketchbook under her arm, hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, paint smudged on her cheek as if she had sprinted straight from her work. Her expression was hopeful, not demanding. "Are you sure?" I said, surprised. "Most people avoid this table." She smiled. "Then I guess I'm not most people." She sat down without waiting for permission, as if we already knew each other somehow. She ordered an iced latte, then turned to me with a sudden brightness. "I'm Lena." I told her my name. She repeated it like she wanted to memorize the sound. In 20 minutes, I learned that she had just moved to town, worked as a freelance illustrator, loved rainy nights, had a bad habit of losing her keys, and believed that every stranger had a story worth hearing. "You're surprisingly easy to talk to," she said when she stood up to leave. I chuckled. That's a first. Before she walked out, she gently touched my wrist. Not flirting, just connecting. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked. I shouldn't have cared as much as I did. She was young, vibrant, full of color, everything I wasn't anymore. And yet, long after she left, I caught myself smiling at my coffee like a fool. She didn't just return, she made it a habit. Sometimes she was early, sketching quietly while waiting for me. Sometimes she ran in breathless, apologizing dramatically for being terribly, unforgivably late when she was 3 minutes behind. Every morning, she pulled stories out of me I hadn't told anyone in years. About my childhood, about my wife, the good days and the hard ones, about the quiet ache that comes with loss. She listened like each sentence mattered. And in return, she opened up in ways that surprised me. She once told me, "I know I seem confident, but most days I'm just trying to figure out who I'm supposed to be." Her vulnerability cracked something open in me. One evening after we had dinner, something simple, pasta and wine, we walked past storefronts glowing with warm yellow lights. She kept bumping her shoulder into mine, laughing softly every time. She told me about her fears, failing her career, disappointing people, choosing the wrong path. "You always seem so sure," she said. I laughed. "Trust me, I've lived long enough to know that certainty is an illusion." She looked at me in a way that felt too deep for the sidewalk we were standing on. "You make the world feel steady," she whispered. And I felt the dangerous warmth then, a stir, a pull, something I had no business feeling. But feelings don't ask for permission, they just arrive. It was the kind of night where the rain softened the whole world. I offered her a ride, and she accepted without hesitation. Inside the car, she curled her legs beneath her like she was settling into a sofa, not a passenger seat. When we reached her building, she didn't open the door. She just sat there, watching raindrops blur the city lights. "I don't want to go in yet," she said softly. So we talked. About regrets, dreams, the strange relief of finding someone who understands you without trying to change you. Then her voice lowered. "I've been thinking about you," she said, fingers tracing circles on her jeans. My breath caught. "I'm 58, Lena," I whispered. "Our lives aren't even in the same chapter." She leaned closer until her forehead rested gently against mine. "Maybe not. But right now, we're on the same page." Her hands slid over mine, not possessively, not greedily, just tenderly. There was no kiss, no rush. Just two people sharing a moment that was somehow more intimate than anything physical. And in that quiet, breathless space, I realized something terrifying and beautiful. I was falling for her, slowly, deeply, against every logical reason not to. We didn't define anything. We just kept choosing each other. Coffee turned into lunches, lunches into dinners, dinners into evenings spent reading or walking or sitting quietly together. She started holding my arm when we crossed streets. I started saving her favorite pastries without admitting I was doing it on purpose. People stared sometimes, the curious, the judgmental, the confused. But Lena didn't care. One afternoon, after a woman whispered something unpleasant as we passed, I hesitated to hold her hand. She noticed instantly. She grabbed my hand firmly and said, loud enough for the woman to hear, "He's with me, and I'm with him." Her confidence stunned me. "You're not bothered by this?" I asked later. She shrugged. "People love to judge what they don't understand." Then she looked at me with a softness that melted every insecurity. "I don't want someone my age. I want you." I didn't know what I had done to deserve her attention, her affection, her warmth, but every day she reminded me that maybe, just maybe, love wasn't a resource that dried up with age. Morning light became something I looked forward to again. She arrived at the cafe with her hair still damp from her shower, sketchbook tucked under her arm, always smiling like I was her favorite part of the day. And maybe I was. We talked about the future in pieces, not plans, just possibilities. She wanted to travel, I wanted to slow down, but somehow those two things didn't feel incompatible. One evening, we sat on my porch with blankets around our shoulders. She leaned against me, tracing patterns on my hand with her fingertip. "Do you ever think about where this is going?" she asked quietly. "All the time," I admitted, "and it scares me." She nodded. "Me too. But being without you scares me more." Her honesty hit me with unexpected force, so I tightened my arm around her, gently, protectively, intentionally. "I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I want you in it." She closed her eyes and leaned into me, her breath warm against my shoulder, and for the first time in years I felt completely, profoundly alive. Not because I was 58, not because she was 28, but because two people found a connection that didn't care about age, expectations, or the noise of the world. Just love. Simple. Unexpected. Real. It started like a joke. We were sipping coffee when Lena flipped through her sketchbook, showing me drawings of places she wanted to visit someday. Mountains, lakes, crowded streets glowing under lanterns. "Do you ever been anywhere fun?" she asked playfully. "At my age," I teased, "fun becomes weather-dependent." She rolled her eyes. "Come on, you must have traveled before." "Years ago, before everything changed." She became quiet then, eyes soft with understanding. "What if we went somewhere small?" she asked gently. "Just a weekend, just us." I wanted to say no. I wanted to say it was irresponsible. I wanted to say the age gap already made things complicated enough. But instead I said, "Where did you have in mind?" Her smile could have lit the entire cafe. Just a lake, 2 hours away. Quiet, peaceful. And so we went. The cabin was modest, wooden walls, a stone fireplace, a single lamp that flickered like it needed encouragement, but Lena walked inside like it was a palace. "I love it," she said, spinning slowly in the middle of the room. Watching her joy was something I could never prepare for. We spent the days walking trails, her taking pictures of everything, rocks, leaves, even the way the light fell across my face. "You look peaceful," she said, snapping another photo. I feel peaceful, I admitted. At night, we sat by the lake on a small pier. The water reflected the moon like fractured silver. Do you think people will ever understand us? She asked quietly, her hand finding mine. Maybe not, but we understand us. She leaned her head on my shoulder. That's enough for me. And for the first time, I realized it was enough for me too. Love doesn't erase insecurities. Sometimes it makes them louder. One evening, weeks after our trip, Lena came to my house looking unusually silent. She paced the living room, fingers trembling slightly as she pushed her hair behind her ears. What's wrong? I asked. She stopped pacing and looked at me. My mom wants to meet you. My stomach tightened. Ah. She's not thrilled, Lena continued. She thinks you're going to break my heart, or waste my time, or I don't know. That's valid, I said quietly. From her perspective, I don't care what she thinks. Lena snapped, her voice breaking. But she made me think about things I've been trying not to think about. I waited. She exhaled shakily. You're 30 years older. What if one day you decide I deserve someone younger, or someone with more time, more years ahead? Her fear hit me like a punch. Lena, I said, stepping closer. I'm not going anywhere. But she pulled back. Not roughly, but enough to make my chest ache. How can you promise that? She whispered. People change. Life changes. I hesitated. The wrong move. She noticed immediately. You're hesitating. That's what scares me. Because I'm thinking, not doubting. But the air was already broken. I need some time, she said softly, just to clear my head. When she left that night, the door clicked shut with a finality that made my heart sink. And for the first time since meeting her, I felt genuinely afraid. The next 3 days were hollow. I still went to the cafe, still sat at the same table, still ordered the same coffee. But everything felt colorless. On the 4th morning, I walked in expecting the same empty ache. But she was there, sitting at our table, sketchbook open but untouched. Her eyes were red. Mine probably were too. Hi, she whispered. Hi. She stood, walked toward me, and stopped just inches away. I'm sorry, she said. I let fear talk louder than you. You had a right to feel everything you felt. I know, she breathed, but I didn't have the right to walk away from you without listening to my heart. I swallowed hard, afraid to hope. Lena, she placed her hands on my face, soft, trembling, desperate. I'm in love with you, she said, voice breaking. I tried to deny it. I tried to fight it. I tried to make it make sense, but it doesn't. It just exists, real and messy and terrifying. My chest tightened so much it hurt. And if you want to leave, she whispered, tears forming, if you think this age thing will be too hard, I cut her off gently. I'm in love with you too. Her breath hitched. I fell for your kindness, for your courage, for your honesty, for every messy, imperfect part of you. She pressed her forehead to my shoulder, her hands gripping my shirt. I don't want anyone else, she whispered. Just you, only you.
I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her shake, feeling myself breathe again for the first time in days. And in that embrace, everything felt decided. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't filling a void. This was love, the kind people wait their whole lives for.